Hi, so in today's video, I'll be talking to you still about looking for a sponsor. And, um, at times I was looking for a sponsor, at times I was looking for an institution where I could file this motion. And what I came across actually was a lot of misinformation, even in the media, like on YouTube, and misinformation in the books, I believe. So, if you want to learn more about that aspect of Piglet, that part of the story that is depicted in Piglet, then stay tuned. So, I'll start with Miss Agnieszka Wierzchowska and her book of Wspomnienia and Kamienie, Memories and Stones. And she's the lady who wrote the book about my hometown, Tarnów, and she wanted to depict Jewish relationships. Either I think it was in the period before the Second World War, or after the Second World War. Sorry for not knowing. So I was thinking that way, that I needed more people to, get familiar with my book and, start working on similar concepts and similar ideas, because I wanted to everybody to know about covert hypnosis and how basically how widespread it was, how common it was for other people to use it. And for a lot of those who are affected by those this covert hypnosis, it was very typical for them to not to be aware at all and not to believe in something like that, like extrasensory perception at all. So therefore I was looking for even some writers, authors who could take up a topic and spread the news. But I think I found it in Mastermind and with Web Yeshiva and in other places too. Uh, Now I found it, but back then. So um, here's the thing. Why didn't I decide to have this meeting with Miss Agnieszka? She actually agreed to see me. Um, when I was about to meet my professor, and I was waiting in the corridor for him, I picked up the phone and I scheduled the meeting with her. She called me just when I was about to enter his office. And when I was searching for the information online about her in her book, I didn't find any information. I just found like one or two articles. I asked my sister to check on German sites with um, what she had, and she had like one article or two, and then I was trying on my own to search on German websites with the ending de, but then Polish article popped up, and that was part of misinformation too, I think. And then when I looked at the book launch, um, when I look at the book launch on YouTube, I actually didn't see any Jewish people in the audience. Everybody seemed to be either Polish or Gypsy. And they talked about the topic I discussed in the book too. They talked about tenant houses. What happened with tenant houses after the Second World War, that majority of which belonged to Jewish people. And she said that she imagines it that way, that people stood in front of a choice. If I don't take somebody else's flat, then somebody else, my neighbor, will take that flat. And she says that this is what she imagined happened, that everybody stood in front of such a choice, which actually is not true, because tenant houses become government's property. So if there are no tenants, there are no landlords, Tenant houses become government's property, and if a lady writes a book that is based on research, then such information is, I believe, a very, very basic information um, to introduce to people. If we mean to write the book that really aims to focus on, finding the truth. Okay. Right. And there was yet another woman I was considering at that time, and that was Katarzyna Bonda. In one of the interviews, she talked about, hitting the man with a car, and then she said that man died later on. And when I looked at her, I thought, she lived in guilt, and I wrote about her in my book. And as I wrote that, then I saw new headlines, new photos, a lot of photos with her being, all of a sudden very happy woman, and captions that would depict her saying that, she spent 7 years living in a guilt, but now it's gone, right? Um, she also, did a project in prison, and that was one of the things I wanted to do. Why did I want to do it? Because I watched a film about Truman Capote, who actually interviewed a person that he would come and visit them in prison. It's a very moving story about ethics that, Capote kept on appealing, and fighting for his life. Um, so that his prisoner could avoid the death sentence. But once he was done with interviewing him, he stopped fighting for appeals. So, it was a moving story, so I wanted to do that. And I wanted to do even storytelling. Yeah, there were moments in my life when I wanted to do a lot of things, and I had a lot of interest, and it's connected with number 3, my life path number is depicts a person who, main themes is expressing themselves in, but also they have a lot of talents, those people. And I think I have been through all my life exploring all my talents. And I wanted to do storytelling courses too. And, Katarzyna Bonda does that too. And I just had in a family flat, we had a lot of her books, but 2 of her books were, in 2 colors, like blue and orange. And those 2 colors like speak to me because of, the connection to Black people, and what I lately wrote about Joe and Nell. um, so, and there is one more thing with Katarzyna. Her surname is Bonda. In extended family, we have Bondar, and there is James Bond. In those surnames, there is a difference with one letter in them, and I have many more examples of people who I believe are connected with the surnames where there's only one letter changed. Uh, so I thought that, she could also help and so on. But now, currently, I think she's actually a gypsy woman, pretty much aware um, of the way occultism works. Yeah. So these were the options I was considering, and I resigned the very last minute. And then there was Magda Gessler, and she's a very well-known woman in Poland for helping restaurants to, get some new dishes, new menus. She helps them with the structure and organization, and she there is a program about it, how she helps them and so on. She is basically known for quite rude sometimes utterances. And in one of the episodes on YouTube, I saw her standing in Tarnów, in my hometown, in front of a Jewish bathhouse. And she said that the building is very neglected, and there are very bad energies over there. And she actually spoke about energies, about some issues that from the past were actually neglected. The building was neglected, and I thought that she was on the same page with me, and I was looking for anyone to talk to contact. And um, so I found her, and then I found yet another YouTube film where there were boys who looked like gypsy, just darker skin, but didn't have to be gypsy actually. And they were screaming that, she was promoting chemical food. They were filming her against her wish. So it looks like, as if she was attacked. So obviously you could link that, that she was attacked because she said something positive about the bathhouse, the Jewish bathhouse. But there didn't have to be any link or any connection between those two events or, utterances. Yeah. So, the episode, when I went to her website to learn more about, the moments when she came to Tarnów to help in a restaurant in a bathhouse, I didn't find that episode. I just found the episode that didn't open. So that didn't really convince me that she was there to do the job, because when I entered the building after many, many years, there was no restaurant at that time. Okay, and Miss Magda Gessler also mentioned Rafał Sonik, and in the very same film, when she talked about the Jewish bathhouse, Rafał Sonik was standing behind her, and she said that he's the owner of, or maybe one of the owners of the department store Gemini, and he was presented as a millionaire in yet another YouTube interview. So yeah, I was checking on him and I was trying to contact him too, because with a millionaire, oh dear, I would feel safer. And he stood in front of the Jewish bathhouse, so he was standing for the same thing, I believe, right? So when I saw him, I actually left Mr. Nawrocki's office when he talked to me about his not having a son who is a psychologist, but a son who is 7 years old. So Rafał Sonik said he's had a son who was 7 years old. He, liked fast driving. I did that too, but he mentioned quotes and he presented quotes and different type of a car. And there are some other references to my life too, but that doesn't really matter. What I really spotted and what I really grasped and what was really striking was that, with his height, with his body posture, he was very similar to my photography teacher, Jan Gomoa. And he even builds the narrative, the utterance, in a very similar way to Jan Gomoa, and they had this almost the same eyes and the same hands. So that was a lot of similarities. And yeah, I didn't know that that my photography teacher might have been related to a millionaire when I was going to photography class at that time. And there was Norman Daves too, just another person who published books. But I didn't decide to go with him either. So I was starting to write, sending an email, and then stepping back and moving away. But today, what I really think is, even if you are wrong with somebody else's intentions, with what they present, then once you have the conversation, you will actually learn even more. So there is no need to step away from the idea. And yeah. So what I want to tell you is that if you want to get a free PDF of my book Piglet, then drop me a line at lkinga788 at gmail.com, because there was a time it was very important for me to for everybody else to know. And yeah, and it still is. It's a book that is very complex and it's got a lot of aspects. So sometimes I'm losing losing some parts of my memories, or it happens. But it still is very important for everybody to know what is covert hypnosis, what is misinformation, what forms it shapes, how it makes us feel, and so on. And the history, the aspects of what was going on in Tarnów during the Second World War. That's important to know too. So drop me a line at lkinga788 at gmail.com. And if you're curious about my course, Amelia, if you want to learn more about mind games and control and manipulation, then click the link below and it will take you to my course. So you will find all the info in the description of the film, on my website, on my Instagram or Facebook account. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, share it with other people, and thanks a lot for watching.